If you've never hired anyone before, your first virtual assistant can feel risky. What's up, guys? This is Philip Sessions, founder of Refined VA, and we're here to help you with all things leadership and content creation. And in today's video, I'll make it simple. What to delegate, a 30-day plan, and a simple ROI check. Most of the time when people hire their first VA, a few things come to mind. They're afraid that if they spend all this money, they're not going to get any kind of return. They're not going to get any valuable work out of it. Another thing is that they're a control freak at the end of the day. You are probably like, I can do this. Nobody else can do this like me. So how am I going to hire somebody all the way across the world to be able to do work just like me? And the third thing that I commonly see is that most business owners are afraid that they're going to start spending so much time just trying to onboard and train up a virtual assistant that now they're spending twice the amount of time because they're training them, they're trying to get them to do it, but then they have to go back and check on them. And this is true at first, but we'll talk about this later. But here's the truth. If you give clear directions and you establish exactly what done means for the task that you're giving, 80% of these things will not even be. So let's go ahead and break down the 30-day plan for your first virtual assistant. And you can repeat this for every single virtual assistant that you get after this too, but this would be perfect for you if you're hiring your first virtual assistant. So week one, you're going to focus in on the scope of work that they're going to do, a budget that you have in mind for how much you're wanting to spend on that work, having somebody else do it, and what success looks like. So for instance, your outcome statement could be, in 30 days, I will no longer be doing X. The virtual assistant will handle Y. In 30 days, I will no longer be handling X. The virtual assistant will be handling X. The success equals that you are no longer doing this task and the virtual assistant now is doing that task. Next thing in the first week you want to do is a time and task audit. We have a whole video to talk about this. You can see that link right here. You want to list out all the recurring tasks that you do. Let's start with something as simple as 10 tasks. And then next to them, put a $10 hour task, a $100 hour task, or a $1,000 per hour task. And of course, you want to keep the $1,000 hour task and maybe even the $100 hour task. It just depends on how much you can give away and how many things are happening that are only $10 or $100 per hour tasks. Next, the budget. So how much can you reasonably afford? If you're paying a virtual assistant anywhere from $10 to $15 an hour, let's just go with $10 an hour just for an easy round number, and you give them 10 hours of work a week. That's $100 a week that you're paying them, or $400 a month. Can you afford that? Can you afford full-time, which would be $1,600 a month or $400 a week? Is that something you can afford? Is the $1,600 spent on somebody doing this work for you going to allow you to at least do $1,600 worth of other work to bring in to the business or to free up your time? And if so, then you are able to give that task away or those tasks away. And then in order to be able to keep some kind of control, because yes, you're giving this work away, but how do you keep control of it? Well, things such as a password manager, such as LastPass is what we use on our side. Have a standard operating procedure folder, and then also having all of the information inside of a Google Drive that you control. Maybe they're only able to view it, so anything that they do, they need to send you a link to something else, or have it somewhere like in an Asana board, some kind of project management board that they can upload all of their work to, or email it, however you want to do it, but have some structured way of they can download here in this spot, you know, in a folder somewhere that maybe they can't delete stuff, so it stays there, you're in control of it, and then they can upload maybe to another folder or something. And then lastly, define what the virtual assistant can and can't do without your approval. That way they don't feel like they're waiting on you for everything, but they know what things they should wait for you to give that approval on. Now, week two, you need to find, vet, and trial your virtual assistant. So now we've defined exactly what they're going to do. Now we need to go find that virtual assistant. So sourcing the candidate, you can either go through us at Refined VA, or you can go through things like LinkedIn. There's Indeed out there. Instagram is another great place. Onlinejobs.ph. There's plenty of platforms where you can go find your virtual assistant. And when you do finally find one that you think that their resume matches with the things that you want, give them some kind of task. We've actually done this with video editors where we'll give them a reel and say, edit this video. We give them absolutely no direction. His idea is we want to see how well can they edit. Are they going to go and research our content and see what we've done in the past and try and make it like that? Are they going to add a bunch of B-roll to it? What are those things that they're going to do? But maybe you're not doing video editing. Maybe you just have some kind of documentation and you can give them some documents and say, review this and summarize it, whatever that may be. But give them some small tasks that don't take more than about 30 minutes to an hour, because they shouldn't be doing a ton of free work for you. This is not a way to get free work. It's a way to be able to see their work. And then next, I would do this before I would even interview somebody. See what you have, get their resume, of course, get them to actually do this kind of task for you, and then set up the interview. This is where you'll really be able to dig into who they are, their personality, talk to them more about their work experience, and then even talk to them about the tasks that they've done. Again, going back to the virtual assistants that we had do the video edit for us, we talked with them about what made them do the video the way they did. What was their thought process behind that? How do they think of the creativity on that? So it had a great way for us to be able to ask them more questions, to really peel behind the layers of their thought processes on video editing. And then finally, once you've gone through all that, pick yourself a virtual assistant and then schedule a time for them to start, and then do either a daily or once a week meeting with them to really check in and see how things are going. And set up some kind of communication plan besides that as well, but have that daily or weekly check-in to really make sure that you're seeing what they're doing and you're able to give that feedback and they can communicate to you as well. Because I found that virtual assistants at first won't communicate proactively to you because you're the boss. They're a little intimidated. So make sure that you are having ways for them to frequently communicate with you to be able to get information flow back and forth. Week number 3, actually get them in your systems. So you're going to onboard them, give them access to an email, calendar, project board, whatever it is that you're going to give them access to so they can actually do that work. Have SOPs in place. So you can use something like ChatGPT to help you out with that, or maybe you already have something, give those to them. I would also recommend using something like Loom to record what it is that you're doing. I've done this for our podcast. We use Buzzsprout, and I've actually recorded myself clicking through every little thing of how do I want this uploaded. And when we used to upload to our website, the podcast as well, I had that recorded on video too, so that way the virtual assistant could not only have the SOP of step-by-step on Word, but they could see in video what it was that I did, where I clicked, and everything like that. And then finally, hand off these tasks to them. Again, have it clear what they're going to do, but hand off the exact thing so that they can know what they're doing and how it's going to be accomplished and what means done. And set up some kind of daily communication. So I always like to do a check-in and a check-out for the day, especially if you're not going to be communicating a lot throughout the day. They're just kind of working on videos. Let's say that they're long-form videos that may take them a couple hours, and they're just doing that. They don't need to say, hey, I'm still working on the video. Hey, I'm still working on the video. But at the beginning of the day, they can tell you, hey, Philip, I'm going to be working on XYZ. And at the end of the day, they can tell you, hey, I was able to get X and Y done, and I'm in the middle of getting Z done. And that way you know, do we need to give them more work? Do they have more work to do? Have them ask you what things were, or tell you what hurdles they had, and tell them to tell you if they need more work also. And then week 4, this is where you figure out, were they actually beneficial or not? So you have your scoreboard, and then you make a final decision. Virtual assistants understand that they are just an independent contractor at the end of the day. It's not guaranteed that they're gonna have a job. Of course, they want to keep a job, so they're gonna do their very best. But you can also tell them up front, and I would recommend saying that in the interview, that, hey, I want to give this like 1 week or 2 weeks or 30 days, whatever it is, some kind of trial period to make sure it works. That way they can halfway expect it. Don't say, oh yeah, we're gonna have such a long working relationship, and then 2 weeks in, you're like, yeah, you didn't make the cut, sorry. You want to make sure you're up front and say, hey, look, I want to try this out, especially if this is your first virtual assistant. Let them know, hey, I'm trying this out. See what this looks like. And so maybe you're doing quote. Did you send quotes? You received an email in about somebody requesting a quote. Did they actually get the quote out within 24 hours? Were they able to follow up the lead on social media within an hour, or perhaps 5 posts scheduled by Friday? Whatever the task were that they're working on, were they actually able to do those? Was there a quantifiable result from the work that they did? And then if you decide after these, really 2 weeks based on our scenario here, but 30 days, you can then review if you want to keep or part ways with them. And if you decide to keep them, set up a 90-day target then. Make sure after 90 days that you have set targets of what you want to see out of them, what you expect from them, and maybe even expand hours from here. So now we've kind of talked about the 30 days of how in the world do we actually delegate tasks, or what do we delegate? How do we get these people on board? How do we set up metrics of what success looks like? Now let's actually talk about what it is that you can delegate first. So some of the common things that we see is social media management, getting somebody to actually start creating posts for you, or coming up with ideas, creating posts for you, posting on your behalf, and even engaging with the people that are engaging on your social media content. They may be doing video edits, they may be doing graphic design edits for you, but they're able to post on your behalf. Another thing would be admin and sales support. So maybe they're handling your email and calendar, they're managing your schedule there for you, and they're even following up with inquiries, whether it be over email, whether it be on social media DMs, or if it's an actual calling in and they're able to fill that call for you. It's another easy set of tasks that somebody can do for you, such as a virtual assistant. And now for probably the part that you really want to know about is, what's the ROI on this? So how do we calculate the ROI? Well, we take a look at the tasks. Remember that task list that we made, and we said this was a $10 task, this was a $100 task, a $1,000 task they're not doing, so we don't have to worry about those. And then figure out how many hours that they actually spent on each of those tasks. And then we need to see how many hours that you typically spend on those tasks. And so if it's, they spent 5 hours on emails and you're paying them $10 an hour, that's $50 spent on emails. Now, how many hours did you used to spend? If you used to spend 2, but you're worth $100 an hour, or in this case, it's $1,000 an hour because we kept the $1,000 hour task. That means it was $2,000 that you spent a week on emails for the $50 that you paid them. I would say that's a pretty good ROI right there. That's a $950 ROI that you got from that one task alone. Now, it's not always going to be that drastic, but just think about that. You got back $950 for the 2 hours that you gave away for the task. Even though it took them 5 hours versus your 2 hours, it's $950 difference right there. And the other part to this is, not only did the amount of money that you paid the VA cost less than it cost you to do it yourself, but were you able to do anything else that created additional revenue? And then this number goes on top of all of that. Were you able to do more follow-ups? Were you able to get on more sales calls? Were you able to get in front of more people, do more networking because they were able to do the other things on the back end for you? So then how we actually quickly calculate this, just so you have that in your head instead of me just telling you all these numbers and doing all the math, is that you need to set your hourly rate. You can set it at $100 an hour if you want. Since we talked about $1,000 hour task, we could also set it at $1,000, but let's just set it at $100 an hour to keep the math simple. Estimate the hours saved, and let's be conservative. Let's not try and be liberal with the amount of hours that we think we saved here. So if we save 2 hours for emails, we save 2 hours. That's $200. So the net is the hours saved times the hourly value. So 2 hours saved times the hourly value, $10. So your hourly value, so that's $200, because 100 times 2, minus the VA's weekly cost. So in this case, they only spent 5 hours on emails and they're $10 an hour. So that's $50. So you saved $150 on that. Not as good as when you were at $1,000 an hour, but obvious reasons for that. So the green light for you, if the ROI is actually worth it to me, is if you have 2x the VA's weekly cost. So in this case, for the emails, you really 3x'd their weekly cost. And that's the clear way to see if the ROI is actually worth it. And as an added bonus, let's talk about real quick red flags that you want to be looking out for. If the VA is missing check-ins, they're repeatedly doing the same errors even after feedback, or they're vanishing in the middle of the day, you don't hear from them, or there's no documentation, all of those are very quick red flags, and you want to cut them out ASAP. It's not going to get better. Trust me, I've done that. I've held on to VAs for too long. When they did all these things, just cut them out. So if this video is helpful for you at all, and you're actually looking for your first virtual assistant, but you don't want to do it alone, comment first VA in the comments below, and we'll reach out to you to set up a time to see what your needs are and how you can get your first virtual assistant.